Sometime in the late 1970s, I walked into Cody Books, the legendary bookstore that I felt was not just the center of Berkeley, California, but the center of the world. Denny Smithson, who hosted a book show on KPFA, the local Pacifica radio station, was working the floor. He introduced me to a slender, pleasant-looking man, Ernest Callenbach, saying casually, "You two ought to know each other." Thus began a friendship that was one of the great joys of my life, a friendship that would grow and deepen each year until our final conversation a few days before he died in 2012. As I reread Ecotopia, I can't help but see Chick on virtually every page. His nickname, Chick, derived from the fact that his father raised chickens in central Pennsylvania and was a professor of chicken husbandry. I remember his physical grace and his perpetually youthful face as he beamed with joy at the presence of friends, the presentation of a good meal, the anticipation of a lively conversation, and at the end of the day, the prospect of going home to his beautiful wife, Christine. He delighted in pleasure and rejoiced at being alive. And the world he created for us in the pages you are about to read is not a hair-shirt, moralistic utopia, far from it. In his utopia, there's sex, lots of it, and of great variety, as well as dope in moderation, deep hot tubs to soak in, wine for lunch, a lot of play, and an abundance of interaction. This is a utopia fashioned by someone who liked pleasure and reveled in human contact. As one character in Ecotopia explains, human beings are tribal animals, you know? They need lots of contact. Not only do I see Chick everywhere in this book, I also see the Berkeley of the 1960s and early 1970s, a seedbed of innovation and radical thinking. As I read about reporter William Weston's entry into Ecotopia on a train without seats, the floor covered with thick, spongy carpet, passengers sprawled over the floor, napping and smoking marijuana, I can't help but recall the green tortoise bus. And as I follow Will through the dining rooms, communes, woodlands, and bedrooms of Ecotopia, I keep catching glimpses of a Berkeley I once knew. It was a world of experimental social and economic institutions, worker co-ops, consumer co-ops, food conspiracies, and communes. There were women's groups and countergroups that encouraged spontaneity, emotion, and honesty. The nation's first recycling program, organic gardening, and a back-to-the-land movement, and a widespread recognition that the earth could not possibly sustain an ever-increasing population or an ever-expanding economy. Barricades were erected on streets to keep out automobiles. Parents and teachers banded together to peel asphalt from the schoolyards to make space for trees and ponds. Creeks were daylighted. Backpacking, camping, bird watching, and nature walks overtook football, baseball, and golf as leisure activities. Authority, all authority, was distrusted. People sent their kids to alternative schools. Babies were born at home with midwives. Buddhism and yoga replaced traditional American religion, and governments, corporations, those in power, were categorically known as the man and held in deep suspicion. We were living in the People's Republic of Berkeley, which, like Ecotopia, seemed to have seceded from the rest of America to become its own nation. Ecotopia, more than an improbable fantasy, seemed like a well-thought-out strategic plan for Berkeley, a vision entirely possible because it was in so many ways rooted in reality.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.